Canada's troublemaker, stirring up controversy for a living, all with a pen, paper, and a mischievous mind. Terry MOSHER, the artist Canadians know as Aislin, has been drawing political cartoons for 50 years, documenting our country's history along the way. My conversation with MOSHER in a moment, but first, some background. Canada may have the reputation of being boring and beautiful. But our history may be more sex, drugs, and rock and roll than many think. Few storytellers have stirred up as much controversy or had as much fun covering our country as cartoonist Terry MOSHER, aka Aislin.
I've got a kind of a nervous looking hallmark.
He lampoons every politician, every moment we've loved or hated over the past 50 years. From the arrival of separatists, to Trudeau mania round 1, to our religious fervor over hockey. His drawings have skewered just about everyone.
It's so easy to poke fun at these people when they pretend to have all the answers. Oh shit, hello, you know.
These days, everything is fair game, but not so 50 years ago. The Queen was off limits until Aislin crossed that line. He details it all in his new book, From Trudeau to Trudeau, 50 Years of Cartooning. I met up with Terry MOSHER, Aislin, at the McCord Museum in Montreal, where an exhibit is celebrating his life's work. So 50 years of cartooning, mostly Montreal based. How much has the country changed? How much has Quebec changed? So much of this is about Quebec and Canada?
I got to cartoon in the heyday of all of those wonderful referendum years and PQ years and that sort of thing. It's quietening down here, there's no question about it.
Is that a good thing?
Well, maybe not for me so much, but it's a good thing, I think, for people finally realizing that Quebec is a pretty good place, and it's run pretty much by Quebecers now. And so there's not that old anger that, say, the Jacques Parizeaux and the Bernard Landrys had about the English. It's changed, and younger people are kind of fed up with this. They'd rather be on the internet.
Noticed a few of your cartoons about the relationship between the French and the English, and one from many years ago was English dogs.
Yeah. Like the subtle complexities of the political situation here in Quebec.
Very subtle, yeah.
And the graffiti says, "Speak French, English dogs." Those were the days when that sort of thing happened.
Another one after the last referendum, the second referendum, which was the Francophone and the Anglophone sort of speaking to each other, saying, "Bonjour Sylvie."
That was a cartoon that was called for. If you remember, the second referendum had been very intense, and it was very close, the final vote. And I just felt that I had to draw a cartoon not of the winner or not of the loser, but of two ordinary people, neighbors.
Out on their
balconies. And one is taking down her "we" signs, and the fellow is taking down his "no" signs, and he's looking up and he says, "How have you been, Sylvie?" And she's saying, "Bonjour, Frank." In other words, we come out of it and we go back to being ourselves again.
Because I think people outside of Quebec don't understand how one side could try and take the province away, and yet people still somehow manage to get along.
Well, we do manage to get along. It's primarily because of hockey. I mean, no matter your political persuasion, everybody is a hockey fan here. And that kind of, it's one of those things that pulls us together.
Like a religion.
Yes, yeah, and I started that with a cartoon about indicating that the new religion in Quebec was hockey.
The other cartoon that you did was very famous. It was René Lévesque saying, "Okay, everyone, take a Valium."
Yeah, actually, that was after the PQ was elected in 1976. I drew this. I walked into the editorial offices at the Gazette, and all the writers had these white faces because the results were coming in. There was clearly going to be a major PQ victory. And how simply it happened was all these jerks could use a Valium. And I went back to my drawing board and drew René Lévesque, "Okay, everybody take a Valium." And there was an immediate reaction, particularly in the English community, about that, like, okay, yeah, it's not the end of the world. And I'm happy to say, yeah, a lot of Anglos left, but More of us stayed, and we took our Valium, and we're better Montrealers for it.
You gave a heck of Valium at some point.
I did. It was so funny. I won a national newspaper award one year, and he was a guest in Toronto. And as a joke at the party before the National Newspaper Awards, I said, "Monsieur Levac, I have a gift for you." Well, you know the way it was. Oh. So I handed him a 10 milligram Valium, which is a pretty powerful thing. And Levac, God bless him, looked at it, he had his scotch, and he took it. Everybody kind of, whoa. And his speech died halfway through. He began slurring and this, that, and the other. And I take full credit for that. By the way, at one point we were pretty good friends. So, and he was a good sport about it up until the end. He enjoyed the cartoons.
Yeah, I can sort of tell, looking at the cartoons, which people you like to do.
I think that's you can't help. I mean, my Stephen Harper cartoons are not remarkable. I don't think. I never met. I think he's the only prime minister I never met. So there was no enthusiasm about that guy, and I don't know if I'd walk around the corner to meet him. Quite honestly.
Mulroney, you had.
Oh.
You certainly enjoyed drawing him.
People think I hate Mulroney. It's not true at all. I enjoyed watching him so much, and he was from Montreal, and we all knew him. And the Irish bluster and very pleased with himself.
Sure they steal your heart away.
He was really paranoid about what people wrote about himself. He was sort of he was terribly insecure about that. So it began to really become very easy for me in cartoons to begin to point out oddities.
His chin.
Its chin. Well, you know, the old expression was, it's not that his chin was so big, he had no neck. Not true. So early on, one of my favorite cartoons, he was boasting about what the cartoonist did with his chin. He was really pleased with that. So I put it in a brassiere.
How do you react to that?
Apparently not very well. Or it was Mila who was a little upset about that one. But you can't care about that sort of thing.
When you were starting out, you pushed the limits for a while.
Yeah.
What was taboo?
The Royal Family. There was a huge blow-up about my Royal Family cartoons in the 1970s.
Well, there was one with the Queen with Prince Philip on
her knee, and nobody had ever drawn even a critical cartoon of the Queen in the English language media up until that point.
Really? Ever?
So ever. It was forbidden. So the Monarchist League went nuts about that one.
Well, and I noticed her feet.
Yeah, there were sort of piggish suggestions in her little feet, which you just play around with.
So you were asking for trouble.
Trouble.
You were asking for it.
In a way. Yeah, in a way. And then a few years ago, 2008, the Obamas visited Buckingham Palace. I think it was their first official sort of visit. And Michelle Obama wasn't all that familiar with protocol, right? And she told Michelle Obama, she touched the Queen, right? And her hand was strategically located. So I drew this with Michelle Obama saying, "Who knew?" Not one letter of complaint.
Really?
Yeah. So things change in terms of public acceptance of things.
So in 1967, Pierre Trudeau was starting his political career. Now you've got another one. What do you think of the two of them? How do they compare?
All right. The two Trudeaus, it's not as if they're Tweedledum and Tweedledee. It's not that at all. But they're both very, very smart and clever people. I don't think people realized how smart and clever Justin Trudeau was. They were all, even these columnists and Coyne and people were dismissing him as an airhead, and they were wrong. You know, I mean, he really put that election is going to go down in the history books. And I remember my favorite cartoon, and I think his favorite cartoon, was just before the election. It's Justin peering out saying, "We're leading by a hair." And that was it, exactly. I mean, and then they just... So he's rapidly, despite all of the selfies and stuff, he's rapidly developed a lot more respect amongst the populace, I think, in Canada. And he's his own man.
You portray him often shirtless.
Well, he often appears shirtless. I mean, you go with what you've got, Wendy. You have to, right? And he, actually, my first drawing of Justin Trudeau was him driving in his father's car to Ottawa. But then the Sunny Ways thing came along, so I took the cartoon and I added a sun thing. And then he started to go around shirtless, so I took his shirt off. So it's interesting how this cartoon has evolved through different phases.
So I notice you have an Order of Canada.
They had an extra one hanging around.
Well, you were denounced in the House of Commons
Years ago. What a great country, huh? Yeah, it's exactly 10 years before I got the Order of Canada. I was denounced in the House of Commons by the Tories for a cartoon I had drawn of Brian Mulroney. Much outrage, and, indignancy and that sort of thing. And then 10 years later, I got the Order of Canada. And great country.
It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks, Wendy. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.